All right, so get this. We're diving into Amazon today, specifically some leaked info from an all-hands meeting about their retail strategy. And it's pretty interesting stuff. Think cost-cutting, but also some pretty ambitious investments.
Yeah, it's a fascinating mix. One thing that really stood out to me was this quote from Doug Harrington. He's Amazon's retail CEO. He said, "We have to keep reducing costs so that we can afford the big investments in big new businesses."
Yeah, what'd you think of that when you saw that? I mean, you'd think a company as big as Amazon wouldn't really be worried about saving a few bucks here and there.
Right. Well, it all comes down to what they call cost to serve. Basically, what it costs them to get a package from their warehouse to your door. The remarkable thing is they've actually been reducing that cost. Like they're getting more efficient even as they grow.
Wow, so they're squeezing more out of every dollar.
Yeah.
But hold on, didn't they also lay off a bunch of people recently? Something like 27,000 employees since late 2022? That doesn't really sound very efficient.
Yeah. I know it might seem counterintuitive, but those layoffs are actually part of their plan to free up resources for those big investments Harrington mentioned. They're projecting to spend a record $105 billion in 2025.
Wow. So they're cutting costs in some areas to fuel growth in others. Where's all that money going? What exactly are these big new businesses they're talking about?
Well, for one, they're talking about AI data centers. Think like massive computing power, all dedicated to analyzing shopping trends and personalizing your experience. Then there's expanding their warehouse network so they can get those packages to you even faster. And of course, we can't forget about those drone delivery services we keep hearing about.
Oh, yeah. So basically optimizing every step of the process, from like predicting what you'll buy to getting it to your door as quickly as possible.
Yeah.
But is it all just about speed and efficiency? Because Harrington also said this. My suggestion would be for all the teams that if you find yourself only doing cost reduction with no invention and innovation, you probably don't have the right balance. What do you think about that?
Yeah, it shows they're not just cutting costs for the sake of it. They're really trying to find that balance between efficiency and innovation. Gail Carpenter, she's their CFO. She actually made a really interesting point about this.
Oh, yeah. What did she say?
So she was emphasizing that it's not just about saving money. It's about using those savings to actually make the customer experience better. She gave some examples like faster delivery, lower prices, and just like a wider selection of products.
So they're saying they're not just trying to make more money. They actually want to make your shopping experience better. And they're willing to make tough decisions to get there.
Exactly. Carpenter even said, "We're in a game of pennies. Every single penny matters, so keep bringing your ideas forward." It really shows their obsession with doing things better, even if it's just a tiny improvement.
That's a great point. It sounds like they're trying to build this culture where everyone's thinking about efficiency and innovation. But what does all this mean for the rest of the retail industry? And what about us as shoppers? Where do we fit into all of this?
Well, that's a great question, and that's what we'll be looking at next.
All right, sounds good. I'm excited to dig into that a little deeper.
Yeah, me too. Yeah, so we've been talking about how Amazon is so focused on efficiency and reinvesting those savings. But how are their competitors reacting to all this? I mean, are they just like sitting back and watching Amazon take over?
Yeah, are they just letting them run wild?
Well, I wouldn't say they're just sitting back. They're definitely feeling the pressure. You know, Amazon is kind of setting a new standard here, and other retailers are scrambling to keep up. For example, we're seeing this big push towards something called omni-channel retail.
Omnichannel retail, what's that?
Okay, yeah, so think about all the different ways you can shop now. You can go to a store, you can shop online, you can use a mobile app. Omnichannel is about making all of those work together seamlessly.
Oh,
So, you should be able to browse online and then pick up your order at the store. Or you could start shopping in a store and then finish buying something on your phone later. It's all about making it as smooth as possible.
I see. So it's about meeting the customer wherever they are and however they want to shop.
Exactly. And it's not just about convenience, it's also about using data to personalize the experience. Like, imagine you're browsing for running shoes online. When you go into a store later, they might recommend socks or energy gels based on what you were looking at.
Oh, that's interesting.
Yeah, it's about connecting the dots and making it a really personalized experience.
That's pretty cool. Sounds like a tall order for some of these traditional retailers, though.
Yeah, definitely. And honestly, we've already seen a lot of them struggling to keep up. But it's not just about keeping up with Amazon. It's about meeting these new expectations that shoppers have. People these days are so savvy. They have so many choices and access to so much information. They just expect more from retailers.
Yeah, I get that. I definitely get impatient if a website takes too long to load or I can't find what I'm looking for.
Exactly.
Okay, so what about these brick and mortar stores? I mean, are they all doomed now that everyone's shopping online and getting stuff delivered by drones?
Not necessarily. I think there will always be a place for physical stores, but they definitely need to adapt. It's not enough to just have products on shelves anymore. They need to create experiences that you just can't get online. Think like interactive displays, personalized consultations, maybe even workshops or community events.
So it's about making it more than just shopping. It's about turning it into an experience.
Yeah, exactly. It's about building a sense of community and making the store a destination, not just a place to buy things.
I like that. But a lot of these changes sound like they would take a lot of investment.
Right?
Can all these retailers really afford to do all this?
That's a good point. And I think it's likely we will see some companies that just can't keep up. But the ones that are willing to adapt and make the right investments, they'll be the ones that not only survive, but actually thrive in this new environment.
Okay, so we've talked about competitors. And what about these brick and mortar stores? But I'm thinking all this is going to have some ripple effects beyond retail too, right? Like, what about jobs? I mean, what happens to all the people working in retail if stores are closing and robots are taking over?
Yeah, that's a big question. And honestly, it's one that I think we need to be talking about more. Because as technology changes and retail changes, some jobs are definitely going to be lost. But at the same time, new jobs will also be created.
Right, so it's not just about job losses, it's more like job displacement.
Exactly. People are going to need to learn new skills and move into different roles. We're already seeing this huge demand for workers in logistics and warehousing. Data analysis is another big one. And as automation becomes more and more common, we're going to need people who can design and build and maintain those systems.
So it's not just cashiers and salespeople anymore.
Right.
It's data scientists and robotics engineers and all kinds of new jobs we haven't even thought of yet.
Exactly. And that's why education and training are so important. We need to make sure people have the skills they need to succeed in this new world.
So it's a challenge, but it's also an opportunity.
Yeah.
To rethink how we approach work and education. And hopefully create a system that's more inclusive and fair so that everyone can benefit from these new technologies.
Yeah. Absolutely. But it's not just about the workers either. We also need to think about the consumers. How will all this change the way we shop and interact with brands in the future?
Yeah, that's a great point. I think we should definitely dive into that next. Okay, so we've talked about how Amazon is changing the game for retailers and how that's affecting jobs and all that. But let's talk about us for a minute. Like, how will all this impact us as shoppers?
Yeah, that's the big question, right? On the one hand, we're seeing this incredible level of convenience and choice. I mean, think about it. You can order pretty much anything with a few taps on your phone and have it delivered to your door in a day or two.
Yeah, I love that 2-day shipping. But I'm wondering, is there a downside to all this convenience?
Well, yeah, there are some potential concerns. One thing that worries me is the impact on small businesses. As Amazon gets bigger and bigger, it becomes harder and harder for smaller retailers to compete.
Yeah, that's true. I've definitely noticed that I do most of my shopping online these days. And I kind of forget about those local shops I used to go to.
Right. And then there's the whole issue of data privacy. I mean, Amazon collects so much data on us, our shopping habits, our preferences, even our browsing history. It makes you wonder what they're doing with all that information.
Yeah, it'd be a little creepy. But then again, they do use that data to personalize our shopping experience, which can be helpful.
It's a trade-off for sure, and it's something we need to be aware of as consumers. We're basically giving up some privacy for convenience and personalization.
Yeah, you've got a point. So how do you see all this playing out in the long run?
That's a tough one. But I think we'll continue to see this blending of online and offline shopping. Imagine walking into a store, and your phone automatically recognizes you and your preferences and guides you to the things you're most likely to want.
Whoa, that sounds pretty futuristic, but also maybe a little overwhelming. Will we even need salespeople anymore if our phones are doing all the work?
Yeah, I think the role of the salesperson will definitely change. They'll need to become more like consultants or advisors, offering expert advice and personalized recommendations, things that an algorithm can't do.
Yeah, so it's about bringing back that human element.
Exactly. But it's not just about technology. I also think we'll see a growing demand for sustainability and ethical sourcing. Consumers are becoming more and more aware of where their products come from and the impact those products have on the environment and society.
Yeah, it's not just about getting the best deal anymore. It's about making choices that align with our values.
Exactly. And that's why it's so important to stay informed and engaged. As consumers, we have a lot of power. We can shape the future of retail by supporting companies that are doing things the right way.
That's a great point. So as we wrap up this deep dive into Amazon and the future of retail, what are the key takeaways you want our listeners to remember?
Well, I think the biggest takeaway is that retail is constantly evolving. What worked yesterday might not work tomorrow. But if we stay curious and adaptable and informed, we can navigate these changes and make choices that benefit us and the world around us.
Absolutely. Great insights as always.